My plan for the hospital was set before I went in, and even we had a backup plan just in case something went wrong. And I had pretty much everybody in the room. I had the adopted couple, my mom and my sister in the room during labor, and the adopted dad, cut her cord. He stayed in the corner the whole time, and then when that came, he cut her cord. And just the time in the hospital, like, the whole time, like, my family, everybody was in the room. They're laughing, having a party, pretty much. The jazz game was on, so all the guys are watching the jazz game, and all the girls are talking, and we're just
dancing.
My sister was pretty crazy. She had fun with the doctor chair, the little spinny chair. And it was just, like, even though we already knew each other, it was more bonding time and just being together when the time came. Mm-hmm.
A funny thing in the hospital, the adoptive father sat in the corner, and Lindy was struggling a little bit, and we didn't realize that she was, really exerting, and we were over here laughing, and he got up out of his chair and came over and took her hand and said, "You're doing great." Just as if, and we were all just kind of sitting there watching him and thought, well, maybe we need to be a little more focused about what's going on in this room. But he was great, wasn't he? He was coaching her more than we all were. He was just he was great the whole time.
When I get super hot, I get sick. And he could tell I was getting sick, and the nurse came in to check on me, and he's like, can we get her something? She's feeling sick. And my mom's like, oh yeah, she's not feeling too good. And I'm like, sit down and watch the game. My mom needs to be right here.
He took better care of her than we did.
It's pretty neat how the adoptive parents start to help take over and assume that responsibility.
And they were so cute in the delivery room. They wanted to be sure that Lindy had time with her before and then that I had time with her, and that Lindy's family had time with the baby, and then they took their turn. And I thought that was so sweet and so accommodating.
She held her first. I passed her on to Amanda, and then she gave us our time.
That's funny.
So that was our experience. How about yours?
So before we went, the plan was to have the adoptive mom in the room and the adoptive dad there, but not in the room. And I was due on a Wednesday, but she came late, and so they were planning on inducing me on Friday morning, and that is not what I wanted. I did not want to be induced. And so I actually had my dad give me a blessing and the night before, just that it would go okay. And we talked to the adoptive couple, and the adoptive dad was really tired, so he took an Ambien, and pretty much right after that my water broke. And so we called them and we're like, we're on our way to the hospital. And he's like, oh no, I'm tired. And so he wasn't in the room, but we have just pictures of him sleeping just on the couches because he was out of it. But I had Jen, the adoptive mom, actually, she cut the cord. And before this, when I told her that I wanted to go have her at the hospital, she's like, no, she'd never been to the hospital experience with her other two. And she's like, no, you need that time, have that time by yourself. And just because I'm like, no, you are going to be the mom. I want you to hear her first cry and you to see her for the first time, because you're going to be her mom, and just share this open experience. One thing that was really neat was when about an hour or so after she was born, we had the adoptive dad come in, and he walked just right past her in the little incubator, and he didn't even look at her. He just came straight to me and gave me a hug and was just like, how are you doing? And that, just even seeing that experience, I'm like, I know that this is the right couple. And he truly cares about me. He doesn't just care about this baby. And that was just that was amazing to me. So some things that didn't go as planned in the hospital was she ended up having jaundice, so she had to be under the Billy lights. And I was planning on holding her just 24/7, like in the hospital. And I obviously wasn't able to. And that was really hard for me. I held her as much as I could. But, and another thing that I didn't expect was how it was not like really obviously a planned pregnancy, but the birth dad wasn't involved at all and wanted me to have an abortion. And I had just a little, like, I wanted a female doctor, and my dad was just looking at her under in the Billy lights and just saying, "I love you, Gracie." And I was getting so emotional with and mad at my dad. And I think because he was a male figure, and I'm like, I mean, I was just, don't touch like her. And I'm like, he's my dad. He's not gonna hurt her. But I just had a hard time because
I was a male.
Yeah, because he was a male, and I had to walk out of the room just to get away and not yell at him because he wasn't doing anything wrong. But that was really hard, but we got over it. I told him a few days later, and he understood.
It's a process. It's a process.
Yeah, so another thing that, well, I guess just didn't go as planned, because she was under the Billy lights, I was like, I need one more day with her. And I had already planned to take her home for a night because I worked at that hospital and I didn't want to place at the hospital and have memories of that. So I called the adoptive mom. We came home on a Sunday and I called her and said, and we were supposed to place on Monday, and I said, I need one more night with her. You know, I didn't get to hold her as much as I needed to. And she didn't act like it on the phone, but she told me later that she was really worried that I was changing my mind. And I, tried to reassure her, no, I'm not, but I just need one more night with her. And she's like, okay, whatever you need. And that, I just needed that in it. And I also felt like, as a birth mom, that everyone was like, no, you can't do things this way. You have to do placement at the hospital. You can't breastfeed her for the 5 days you have her. You need to just feed her formula because that's what she's going to have. But that's what I wanted to do.
You did it your way. And
yeah, I'm like, no, this is the way I'm doing it. I'm taking her home for a couple nights, and I wasn't questioning whether the couple or anything, but I just said, if I don't do something the way that I want to do it, then I'm going to regret just some of the different things that happened. And to this day, I don't regret anything because it is what I wanted, and it went, as much as planned as possible. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the hospital was really neat because she invited the adoptive parents to come for the birth. And it was just a miracle to have the adoptive mom there witnessing her first birth. And then, of course, what was really unique in this situation, after the hospital and after the placement, and this might be something we could talk about later on, but they came back to our house with her daughter and hung out with us 2 days later, came back and hung out with our family. So it was a process. During the hospital stay though, the adoptive mother called me and says, I really want to see, she was there at the birth, I really want to see my daughter. And I'm worried that Starty might back out. I said, she's not going to back out. And I said to her, you want to see your daughter? That's really wonderful. Now remember that feeling. My daughter will want to see her daughter later on. So that helped her to understand, I believe, that the importance of the adoption and the specialness it is.
Yeah, to kind of explain that, so she was born on Friday, and that night, she was born early in the morning, that night we had her two sisters and come down, and Grandpa and Grandma come down to see So the whole family was with her. And Saturday, I was gonna just pretty much be by myself with my family with her. And
she called. She says, I'm worried that she might back out. And I says, well, get in the car and bring the kids and come down and see her again. Come right now.
And just so you know, my dad actually asked me if that was okay. He didn't just plan it.
I did? I can't remember.
He said, you know, how do you feel? Like, you want this to be an open experience? And I was like, yes, come down. But one thing that was maybe not as planned, I mean, that wasn't as planned, but was that when they were down there, there was, you know, it kind of, I don't know exactly how long they stayed, but at some point I was like, okay, I'm ready for them to go. Like, I need my time with her again, because I knew my time was just shortening. And I'm like, no, I need my time with her. So I'm glad they came down the second time. But, you know, I was like, oh wow, I am feeling these like feelings of I'm going to be placing soon. I'm missing her already. And so.
Yeah.